All right. Good evening again, everybody. Doug Bench here with you from North Central Florida, along with Mitch Wilder from Michigan, where it's pretty cold, but doggone it, it's even cold here in Florida. It's supposed to go down to, believe it or not, 22 degrees tonight where I sit, and that's not a very good thing. So we got a ton of information to cover with you, so we're going to get started right away. First thing we're going to talk about is it possible? I mean, what if you could train your brain to generate an unending stream of money-making ideas, achieve more at a higher level, and best of all, increase the size of your bank account? Is that possible through brain science? Yes, it is. And we're going to give you some beginnings of that tonight in the limited time we have together that should just about knock your socks off, because we've been studying the brain for a whopping 12 years now, read over 100,000 pages of brain research. And without getting too deep into my story with a limited amount of time, I started reading brain research because Alzheimer's struck my mother. And when we lost her to that disease, it scared the crap out of me. Thought it was going to hit me. I didn't know anything about Alzheimer's, so I started reading everything I could. And just in a matter of a year or so, my brain started bringing me ideas, good money-making ideas. I had no idea at the time where they were coming from. Now I understand it. And you, too, can develop ideas. You can come up with an idea for a product, let's say, that can be marketed on an infomercial as seen on TV, like the people on Shark Tank do. Can you have an idea for a website? Absolutely. To bankroll your brain power with a website idea. Websites, as you well know, are extremely valuable if your idea is good. What if your idea is for a book? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about these two books a little bit. I own the rights to both of these books. I didn't write either one of them, but I got the idea by recognizing what people want or need. What if you have an idea for a home-based business that maybe can get you out of the job you hate, if that's your situation, or just the wonderful possibilities of working at home with your children there and your family there? All of these things, you guys, are possible, and it can happen if you train your brain properly automatically. Those ideas can come to you automatically. Like you're walking down the aisle at Kmart with your wife or with your husband, and you're not thinking about money-making ideas, but boom, because you trained your brain right, something your eyes see triggers something in your brain that generates an idea, and that idea comes to you automatically. If you train your brain right, that can be an unending stream of ideas that can turn into substantially larger bank accounts. If, once you train your brain to come up with that idea, you know where to go to transform that idea into action, and that action into sales, and those sales into a bigger bank account. That's what we're going to talk about. So if you learn how your brain works through brain science, now, no frou-frou stuff here, no Dr. Phil, no offense to Dr. Phil, but none of that stuff, only the brain science facts based on the research we read. And if you learn how your brain works, you can bankroll your brain power. It's entirely possible to do. And we'll show you some examples of those who have done it, including our ideas, and hopefully you'll get excited and join us on that journey with our team. Okay, remember, it's through brain science. Extraordinary things are possible if you apply brain science discoveries. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Boom! Ideas will start coming to you from anywhere, everywhere, once you train your brain to recognize what people want or need. And the best part is, you don't have to set aside time to sit down and think about ideas. They start popping into your brain automatically. For example, now this handsome couple here is my son and his wife, Rainey. They were married out in California in 2002. I started reading about the brain in 1999. To date, about 135,000 pages of brain research. But I was sitting at my son's wedding out in Eureka, California. I hope you can see it in the picture. There on that table in front of the cake are typed or printed copies of their wedding vows, which they wrote themselves. And at that wedding, and they were good. They were funny. They were romantic. They made you have tears in your eyes. Well, at least if you're the daddy. And at the reception, people kept coming up to them saying, wow, your wedding vows were so cool. Did you write those yourself? Yes, we did. Oh, can we get a copy of those? Boom! An idea popped into my head. I wonder if there's a book on the internet on how to write your own wedding vows. Now, you're going to learn in a little bit that I always carry with me, and back then, that was 2002, I carried a digital voice recorder. We didn't have smartphones back there yet, and boy, I'm an old fart. I didn't want a fancy phone yet, so I carried a digital voice recorder because of something I learned from the brain research that I'm going to share with you tonight. Raise your hand there if you're lousy with names. Just click on the hand there and raise your hand, and let's see how many of you are lousy with remembering names. Yep. There go the hands. Well, I'm going to show you a brain science fact that in about 3 minutes I can show you how to eliminate being bad with names. Well, that goes with names. That goes with anything. Any idea or thought you have, not just somebody's name. So I knew to carry with me at all times a digital voice recorder. And at my son's wedding, I had one in my tuxedo pocket. And when that idea popped into my head, now understand that at my son's wedding, I'm not thinking about money-making ideas at the conscious level. But my non-conscious brain was trained to work on it all the time. So I got that idea. I wonder if there's a book on the internet on how to write your own wedding vows. So I pulled out my voice recorder, actually in the bathroom at my son's wedding at the Eureka Inn in Eureka, California, where I went in there to take a Eureka. And I put on that recorder. Hey, when I get back to Florida, check online, see if there's a book on how to write your own wedding vows. Well, guess what? When I got back to Florida, I found there was not. Guess what? There is now. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Writing Your Own Wedding Vows. And in 12 years that book has been on the internet, we have donated over $500,000 to leukemia-lymphoma.org to combat blood cancers, because I lost 2 precious loved ones to leukemia and lymphoma. You don't have to give it away, though. You can put it in your pocket. And if you stay with us, if you join our team, we will show you, if you have an idea for a book, where to go to get that book written for you for very little money. I paid a woman $750 to write this book, The Ultimate Guide to Writing Your Own Wedding Vows. It's a digital book. Unbelievable. Second idea. This is the men's grill at the Killearn Country Club in Tallahassee, Florida. My youngest son is, well, at the time, was a golf professional there, and we had just played golf. We're sitting at this bar. The TV was on, the news. Peter Jennings, if you remember Peter, was doing the news. I wasn't watching the news. I was talking to my son. I was drinking a beer. I was flirting with the bartender, a girl. And boom, all of a sudden, my brain heard Peter Jennings say the following thing. He said, 50 million Americans are interested in learning more about their family history, but don't know where to find the information. Boom! My brain got an idea. I wonder if there's a book on the internet to help beginners at genealogy. Well, guess what? I put that on my digital recorder. I got back to Orlando, where I was living at the time, and sure enough, there's a whole bunch of websites for genealogy. Roots.com, Ancestor.com. There are all kinds of hardback books on how to find your family history. There are even websites that will find it for you. But I thought, people want to do this on their own, and I find no electronic books. Boom. We hired somebody to write that book, and in 6 years, we've donated over $250,000 to Alzheimer's.org for the sale of that book. Ask yourself, how would your life change if all this brain-based information did was bring you one idea that generates an additional $40,000 a year? And just as importantly, what if you come up with that idea and you think it's a good idea? How do you know if it's a good idea? Where do you go for that? Mitch is going to share that with you in a little bit, because he knows exactly where you go and what you do. Ideas. Here's some ideas that my wife came up with. We helped train her brain. No, she's not a blonde. But she came up with some ideas for horses. And then she came up with an idea for lamps made out of wine bottles. Are you kidding me? These products and ideas have made thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for my wife, for the oats and the hay for our 5 horses and donkey, because she's trained her brain to look for what people want or need. Yes, you can bankroll your brain power and create an unending stream of money-making ideas. Now, here comes the basis. I'm going to talk serious with you for a second, and I got to read something to you. Don't fall asleep on me, because this is the most important sentence I ever read. When I started reading brain research, I also started reading books by experts on the brain. Not frou-frou stuff, not motivational speaker type stuff, but science-based books. Books written by MDs, books written by neuroscientists. And in 2003, Dr. Richard Restig, who is a neuroscientist at George Washington University Medical Center, he's written about 8 books on the brain. And this book was written in 2003, and this is the basis, the science basis, for a lot that I have to share with you. Listen to what he said. What the brain scientists have learned about the workings of the brain in the last dozen years used to be the stuff of science fiction. Now, 99% of everything we know to be true about the brain has been learned just in the last 10 to 12 years, thanks to new brain imaging equipment and tools. See, they came up with some scanners and image creators so they can now see very tiny, tiny areas of a living, breathing, thinking brain, not dead brain tissue on a slide under an electron microscope. Those have been around for years and years and years, but active, thinking, responding, stimulated brains. And in this book, listen to what Dr. Restig said. Now, keep in mind, this isn't Oprah. I shouldn't pick on her. This isn't, some motivational speaker. This is a neuroscientist talking. Listen to what he says. If you learn about these recent revolutionary discoveries, and if you learn and apply techniques and skills based on these discoveries, you can expect a lifetime of enhanced achievements in athletics, academics, or business pursuits. Are you hearing this? Do you see what this can mean for you? Do you think you could learn how to do this? He says you can. You learn about the discoveries and you apply techniques based on it, and that's what we're going to share with you. Some of it tonight, because I told you in the email, we're going to show you how to eliminate procrastination immediately. We're going to show you how to improve your memory, never again forget names. And it's a simple process if you learn how your brain works. That's what Dr. Resnick said. If you learn about the recent revolutionary discoveries and learn and apply techniques and skills based on those discoveries, oh man, not you might, not you coulda, woulda, shoulda, but you can expect a lifetime of enhanced achievements. Wow. So let's go over some of these discoveries in brain science that you can apply. First one is called brain plasticity. Brain plasticity was one of the biggest discoveries about 11 years ago. And what they found was this: if you stimulate your brain, no matter what your age, by the way, that's my favorite part. I'm an old stinker. No matter what your age, your brain will form new DSP connections. DSP, I'll tell you in a minute what that means. Increasing the total number of connections in your brain and greatly increasing your brain's capacity for achievement. So if you learn how to stimulate your brain, no matter if you're 16 or 66 or 86, it doesn't matter. Your brain will form new connections. And with every new connection your brain forms, you are increasing your brain's capacity for achievement, increasing your brain's capacity to come up with money-making ideas. Are you listening? Is this making sense? Yes, it's called brain plasticity. The fancy term is neurogenesis, birth of new brain cells. We'll call it brain plasticity. Right here is a slide that is showing brand new DSPs being formed in the brain. If you want to understand the tiny, tiny area of the brain that this is showing, if you look down the bottom right-hand corner, what you see there that looks like a moon crater is called a dendrite spine. And guess what? There are about 10,000 dendrite spines on each neuron in your brain. And guess how many neurons you have? About 100 billion. So if you want to know the size of that dendrite spine, you got to multiply 10,000 times 100 billion. And that's how small this area is. You see, they came up with new equipment that could see things this small, and they've learned so much based on that. For example, number 2, your reticular activating system. Man, this is your automatic secret weapon to overcome procrastination. Listen carefully. I got to go through it real quick because I don't have much time tonight. As we go through our program week after week, we'll explain this more and more in depth. But your reticular activating system in the back of your brain is where the largest bundle of neurons, right there in front of the cerebellum, it's connected to all parts of your cerebral cortex, and one of its major functions is every impulse that comes through your brain passes through the reticular activating system. And guess what your reticular activating system does, among other things? It instantly determines whether that impulse is something that's been important to you or not. If it's something you've been thinking about over the last 30 days or so, it will send this new thought, new idea, new vision, new sight, new sound, new smell, whatever it is. It'll send it immediately, automatically, listen to the automatically to your cerebral cortex. You must see it and act upon it. You have no choice. You have no choice. And I call it getting things on your important list. What is important to you are the things you've been thinking about the most over the last 30 to 100 days. And if you get your goals on your important list, guess what? Anytime you see something or think a thought about your goals, you cannot procrastinate because your RAS puts it on your important list and sends it automatically to your conscious level. You must respond to it. You got no choice. Holy cow, is that powerful. And as we go through our program, we'll show you in more depth how you do that, how you get your goals on your important list. One real quick example of something on your important list, think back to the last time you bought a new car. When you got that car, it was on your important list. And doggone it, you started seeing them everywhere, didn't you? I bought a Chevy Tahoe. I had never had an SUV before. And the day I brought that sucker home, I was mad as a hornet because everybody in the state of Florida that had a Chevy Tahoe moved into my neighborhood. That's what it seemed like. I started seeing them everywhere, automatically. So put your goals on your important list, and you can no longer procrastinate. That's your reticular activating system. Number 3, the scientists have found that if you are in a highly charged emotional state, proteins are released in your brain. And when proteins are released in your brain, the new neuron connections from brain plasticity that are being formed are stronger. The connections are stronger. They are longer lasting. There are more of them, and the firing threshold is lowered. So a secret to achieving more is to generate high levels of emotion when you're learning something new or when you're training your brain to look for what people want or need. And your brain will do it better if you're emotionally charged when you do that. There are many ways to get emotionally charged. As we go through our program, we'll start sharing some of those with you. Number 4, this is extremely important if you were one of those that raised your hand when you said you were bad with names. I call it the 43-second rule. What this rule says is that when you meet somebody new, their name goes into short-term memory, not long-term memory. Write this down. Memory is an active process, not passive. Memory is not automatic. You must take action if you want to remember something. The only time it happens automatically is when it's a very, very traumatic event. But everything else, you have got to send it to long-term memory. You see, the brain is pre-programmed. All short-term memories go into an area of the brain called the hippocampus, as you see there in the left picture diagram. On the end of each hippocampus, you have 2 of them, one on each side of the brain, is a part of your brain called the amygdala. Guess what? One of the duties of the amygdala is keep you from wasting energy, because the brain cannot store energy. You never want to run out of energy. So the amygdala, if something is firing in short-term memory and it's fired for a long time and you haven't sent it to long-term memory, your amygdala is going to shut it off on you. Yeah. How long? Average, about 43 seconds. So here we all are thinking we're lousy with names because we just met somebody a minute ago, we're talking to them, and we can't even remember their name. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't have Alzheimer's. You're not getting old. It's not a brain fart. It's because you didn't take action. Memory is an active process. You've only got 43 seconds to get somebody's name into long-term memory if you want to remember it. And we, in our program, will show you how to do that. So you will not forget names. You will not forget ideas. Your productivity will double. And one of the things I use is an artificial long-term memory system. That was a picture of my digital voice recorder. Finally, a couple of years ago, my family finally talked me to come into the 21st century, and now I use a smartphone with a voice recorder on the smartphone. Another part of this we'll go through real quick is hydration. It is vitally important that you drink enough water. What the scientists have learned is if you are just 10% dehydrated, up to 50% of the neurotransmitters crossing the synapses in your brain don't successfully get across the gap. What? Yeah. If you're just 10% dehydrated, you're working on only half the information your brain has for you. That is phenomenal information. So you got to stay fully hydrated, and your decisions will be better. You'll recognize ideas better. You will be twice as productive. All right. One more we'll have to go through real quick. How many of you would like to close 72% more sales? This is something I've just been researching in the last month. This is unbelievable. I call it the power of touch. If you learn how your brain works, you can always make it work better. The brain science of touch says this: if you touch someone, neurotransmitters are released in their brain when you do that. I'm not talking about an offensive touching, maybe on the forearm, maybe on the shoulder. You can even touch them without touching them with emotion, for example, by looking in their eyes. But what the scientists have learned is that a neurotransmitter called endorphins cross the synaptic gap when you touch someone, and endorphins generate feelings of comfort, pleasure, translation, trust. So people will more likely trust you. Listen to this. They did a study with waitresses or waiters and servers. They found out that they get a 32% higher tip if they just touch, not offensively, the bill payer during the course of their service. 32% higher tips. A study was done at Stanford and at MIT. It was called a mirror study, investigating the brain development of rats in an enriched environment. It's called a mirror study because they have to do it two places so that if they get the exact same results doing the exact same thing, they know it's reliable results. But unfortunately, they thought they were doing exactly the same thing, and they got different results. The rats of the brains at MIT were developing 32% better. And they couldn't figure it out. They repeated the research. Rats from the same laboratory, same food, same amounts of food. Everything was exactly the same, and the results weren't the same. And finally, they figured it out. At MIT, when the maintenance people were cleaning the cages of the rats, they held the rat. One of the maintenance people held the rat in their arms. Out in California, they just put him in another cage until they cleaned their cage. Are you kidding me? The power of touch. Here's a study that was done right up the road here at the University of Florida and right up the road or down the road from Mitch in Michigan. They discovered that if you used emotion and touch in your presentation as a contractor, when presenting your pitch for a swimming pool, they taught the highest bidder contractors how to do this, and they got the sale 72% of the time, even though they were the highest bidder. Are you listening? The power of emotion and touch. That's one of the things we will share with you as we go through our program. It's extremely powerful. We got an email from a contractor that sells replacement windows to retired people in Sarasota. He says, I didn't feel comfortable touching them, and there isn't really much emotional about replacement windows. But, Doug, I've doubled my sales based on what you taught me. Well, how are you doing that? He says, I touch their pets. They all have pets. I hold their dog. I hold their cat. I call them by name, and my sales have doubled. Brilliant. Learn how your brain works. Here are the 7 steps to financial freedom. Learn how your brain works. We'll, over the period and course of our trainings with you, we'll share with you the 12 most revolutionary brain science discoveries to achieve more, come up with money-making ideas. Learn the 16 Mind Your Brain Apples habits. We share those with you. Apply the 12 Bankroll Your Brain Power steps. That's the steps that will help you train your brain to bring you money-making ideas, phenomenal ideas. Burn it in with practice, 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 and automate your actions. Plug in a system, repeat it. And number 6 is not cash the checks. You know what number 6 is? Once you have an idea, you got to take action. You got to know where to take action. That's where Mitch comes in here in about 2 minutes. He'll help you learn how to do that. Then you can cash the checks. After you call me and say, Doug, listen to this. Oh, man, I'd like nothing better. You want to be the next success story? How would you like an extra $40,000 a year from a simple little idea because your brain has been trained to Recognize those ideas. You've got right now in your possession, right there between your left and right ear, the most powerful achievement and productivity machine in the universe. It's already in there. You don't have to add supplements. You don't need brain surgery. All you have to do is learn to connect the dots, and that's what Mitch and I want to help you do. 7 financial steps, remember? Here they are. Number 6 is what to do with your idea, and we're going to turn it over to Mitch here in a minute. And Mitch, don't forget to turn on your microphone. I've been known to forget that. Let me tell you, right now tonight, our number 1 secret source of ideas that we've worked with our people. So far, we've had 132 students come up with ideas that are generating at least $900 a month. That's about $10,000 a year or more. From a newsletter to a $1.7 million check to a $60 million company. You'll learn more about those success stories as we go through this program. It's unbelievable. And about 90 of these 132 ideas came right out of that newspaper right there. We will show you down the road how to read that newspaper, not for the news, but looking for money-making ideas like Amanda Elliott. Here's a headline she saw in the USA Today. Nearly all child restraint car seats fail the national safety standards. Boom, she got an idea. We sent her to Elance to get a book written on her idea. Her idea was a book for the parents of toddlers, how to buy the safest car seat for your toddler and have it installed correctly. She put that book up on Amazon Kindle, and for over 2 years, she's averaged into her pocket a net of $900 a month. Unbelievable. Another one of our students, Mike Sullivan, he had a hobby of building these fancy model airplanes and then going to dogfight competitions. He came up with an idea for a newsletter for all these crazy nuts that fly these airplanes all over the country. And he charges $7.77 a month for his newsletter. Takes him about 4 hours a month to write it, and he's got over 1,200 subscribers. Do the math. I think that's over $9,000 a month for 4 hours a month on something he loves. You see, what he did was he looked at his passion wheel here. We teach you all about this. You show me what you're passionate about, and I'll show you 8 ways you can make money from it. Over there at 8 o'clock is recurring income. That's what Mike did with his Dog Fighters Digest. He knew that people would pay for information on the competitions for the model airplanes, the dogfight competitions. And now he's making what, $100,000 a year from something he loves. You can do that too. If you train your brain, if you learn how your brain works, you can generate ideas that will bankroll your brain power. I'm going to send everyone who joins us tonight, and then I'm going to turn this right over to Mitch, send you a Brain Booster Blueprint. These are the steps that you need to follow so that your brain will automatically bring you money-making ideas. And if you join us on our team and sign up tonight before midnight Eastern, I'm going to send you a video that goes with this to explain these 9 steps. That will be cool. All right, now I'm going to click over here and make Mitch a presenter so his screen will be in front of you if Mitch is there and ready. You there yet, Mitch?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear the mic okay?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly. All right, I'm going to make you a presenter. Love talking to you guys. I'll be back at the end to help Mitch answer questions.
All right. Let me see. Okay, can you see the...
Yep, there it is.
4 steps? Okay. Man, I just want to say for starters, I could listen to Doug talk about this stuff all night. I really, really enjoy hearing about brain research. One of the things that I did very early on was begin learning about how to think and how to come up with some of these ideas on my own because I knew how important that was. And as we transition into this step, one of the things that has really been one of the biggest influences in my life is the principles of, understanding the right people to listen to. I'm a pretty young guy, and this doesn't usually go with people my age, but it is very, very important to me to listen to people like Doug and people who have experience, who have done, the things that I want to do and have done now thanks to people like Doug. So it's really great. And so what I want to do is I want to talk to you guys about these 4 steps. Now, one of the steps is what Doug just went over, is how to think up all these different money-making ideas, because that's the first step. But what's really interesting about these other 3 steps that we're going to talk about goes along nicely with what Doug had just shared with you. When Doug and I talked about what we could do to share information with you guys that would give you the most benefit, and he said to me, when you come up with your money-making ideas, what's the first things that you do to bring these things to market? And the funny thing is I had to actually think about it for a minute. And the reason is because as we learn, our brain goes through 4 different steps of learning, which is not the 4 steps we're going to talk about, but it goes from unconscious incompetence, where you don't know what you don't know, and then it goes into unconscious competence, excuse me, I'm not as good with this stuff as Doug is, where you just do things automatically. And that's the thing is when you learn these steps, you just start doing them automatically. So I actually had to find a money-making idea and go through the process of what I do to see if it's a good idea and see if there's a way to make money at it. So that's what we're going to go through with these 4 steps. So the 4 steps to bring your idea to market are the following. This is kind of the overview. We just went over how to bankroll your brain power with what Doug taught us about. We're going to talk about idea recon, which is where you begin the process of seeing, okay, is this a workable idea? Next, we're going to go into market profiling, where you find if there's people who are willing to pay you money for your idea. And then the 4th thing is the delivery process, making sure that you deliver the same quality, which is a lot of what Doug talked about with systems, so that once you have something that's working and making you money, that becomes repeatable. So let's take these and break them down a little bit at a time. Like I said, I'm going to skip over that part with the bankroll your brain. We're going to go right into idea recon. This is what's pretty cool about idea recon. It starts with you asking yourself some big questions of, is this a good idea? Because if you talk to people, you may get differing opinions. They may not be as much of a visionary as you are. They may not understand. So this is something that you can do aside from anybody else, just on your own. As soon as you get that idea, as soon as you have it recorded, this is what you can do to make sure. The first question is, are people looking for it? Are people looking for a solution that your idea may bring them? So just like with Doug, with his book about the wedding vows, with all of that, is there a solution? Are people looking for it? The next is, are people willing to pay to have this problem fixed for them? Are they willing to pay for a solution? And if so, how much? Now, if you've had this problem, if that's how you came up with the ideas, you've had this problem and you want to get it fixed, you have to ask yourself, what would you do to start looking for a solution? Well, many of us today who are used to using the internet use things like Google. That's one of the biggest ones, and that's what I wanted to use to make it so that anybody could use this. So you need to start looking at things like keywords, YouTube videos, search volumes, to find out if people are actually searching for this. And then also, do you have any competitors in this area? So let's go over those things really quickly, and let's look at an example. Now, my background, my family was in the home inspection business, that industry for years and years and years. One of the products I always found really cool is if people had cracks in their foundation of their home, there's an injection tool that can seal those cracks to keep water from getting into the basement. That's, to me, I always felt that was a pretty cool idea, so I'm going to use that as an example. Now let's say that you were the one who had that idea. You would go on to Google and you would search terms like, how do I fix a crack in my foundation? Or what do I do if my home has a crack in the foundation? So search Google, search the keyword tool, and search YouTube. Primarily when you're on YouTube, you're looking for tutorials, things that people have already come up with. Now, the other thing is you want to see in that Google search is, are there others that are competing? And this is important. We're going to touch on that a little bit later. And then finally, is there enough search volume? Are there enough people that are looking for this solution, that are looking for your idea or whatever it may be, that you can make enough money doing that? So here's the process. This is how the process works. I used our little logo thing there to show and illustrate your idea. So as soon as you have that idea, get to a computer as soon as possible and think, okay, if I were looking for this problem, what would I search? And just type that into Google. Really what you want to see is you want to see this area here, just what comes up in the search results. Do businesses come up? Do blog articles come up? Do advertisements come up? And these are very important because if there's no competing businesses or no ads on the page, well, that means that there are a lot of people who don't feel that that's a search term that can make money. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but it's one of the things you have to take into account. Now, on the bottom of the page, of the search page in Google, currently the way they have Google set up is there will be search suggestions. So on the bottom of that page, before you get to all the numbers of the other pages, it will say something like, people who searched for this also searched for blank. And then it will give you a couple suggestions of other keywords that people were using to search for similar topics to what you had just searched for. So take a screenshot, take a piece of paper and a pen and write those things down. Okay? Now, the next step is what we see here with this cool little blue chart. I love charts. That is a screenshot of Google AdWords. Now, if you don't have a Google AdWords account, what I love about this is a free tool. If you have a Gmail account, you probably already have access to Google AdWords because they want you to advertise with them. So this gives you an ability to go into Google AdWords. You go to the menu where it says Tools, and you're going to drop down to where it says Keyword Tool. And what the Keyword Tool does is that gives you the ability to search those key terms that came up in your Google search when you were searching to see what was searching to see the topic of your idea and who came up with that search. So at this point, you're in the Google Keywords tool under Tools. You can search by location. So if you're in Florida, you can search by only certain areas of Florida, cities, states, whatever the case may be. You can do that search. And what you're looking for is the volume of searches. How many people are searching for those terms, and then how many people are searching for similar terms to what you typed in. So just because you thought of the idea doesn't mean that there's not other people who are looking for that thing. You have to think of maybe other ways that people could have typed it in. And what Google does is it takes similar search suggestions and gives you the similarities and how many people search for those similar search suggestions. So you want to look at the overall view, and you want to look at individual keywords that people have searched. Next, you would go to YouTube. Use some of the keywords that you found had the highest search volumes. You might type in with those keywords, you might type in something like a tutorial because you want to see if people have tried to fix this problem or fix what your idea would solve in the past and see how they've done that. So this is all part of that idea recon process. But the main things are there competitors, other companies that come up, or are there contemporaries, people who would work along with your product? And are there over 1,000 searches per month in your area for the main search term? Those are really the biggest things you want to ask yourself. Okay, now let's move on to why this works. Well, for one, if there's not other companies that come up in your Google search, it's a problem because you may have to ask, can it be monetized? If there's not enough people that are searching for that solution that your idea offers, then you may not be able to make money at it. It's just as simple as that. And if there are not any YouTube videos where people have tried to help others solve this problem, by other means, then there's two possibilities. One is either that nobody has figured it out, and you've really got something, or it could be that it's a solution that people are not looking for. And that's why it's so important to continue to understand how to train your brain to make these money-making ideas. Because even with what Doug and I both do, and we've both trained our brains to come up with money-making ideas, not every idea that we have is going to be knocked out of the park. We continually come up with them to help us get those multiple streams of income. So when you do this and you see other competitors, don't get discouraged. Competition's actually not a bad thing, especially if your idea is a twist on something that's already on the market, because that way you have a competitive edge over that person who already has something on the market. Now let's go to the next step, the market profiling. So you've gotten past the idea recon, you've determined it's a good idea. What is market profiling, and how does that work for you? Well, realistically, you have to profile your customers. As funny as that may sound, and it may sound like something from Criminal Minds or CSI or something like that, but you have to ask yourself, who is this product for, and what will the person be doing when they decide that they need to use your product or service? What's their age, their location, and their social status? You see, not every product is for everyone, and so when you ask people and you say, who's your product for, and they say, oh, everybody can benefit from this, well, you're going to spend a fortune on advertising and marketing because realistically not everybody is going to buy your product. So if you have a product or service, determine who is your ideal customer. And when you do this, you want to think about if you've had customers in the past, think about your favorite customer, the customer that you enjoyed working with the most or that got the most benefit from what you were offering. Now, if this is something that's new, think about the type of people you would like to work with. So think about their age, their income. Are they homeowners? Do they live in an apartment? Are they going to be somebody that resides in your area? Are you going to do business nationwide? Like Doug had mentioned, with the great tools of the internet and all of the amazing internet marketing tools there are, some of your ideas you may be able to monetize across the entire United States or the world if possible. The next thing you need to determine is, once you have the type of people that are going to buy your product or service, you have to ask yourself, what will they be doing when they need your product or service? One of the nice things, as an example, talk about the totally just drawn a blank for all of a sudden. Restoration businesses. Restoration businesses, they advertise to huge nets of people, but they really are only ever needed in the context of a disaster. So you have to think about that process. If somebody has a flood or a fire or anything like that, what are they going to be doing? Who are they going to call when they would need the solution to that? Well, they're probably going to call their insurance person. So you would, have an in of, hey, I need to talk to the insurance person. The next is, where will they be? Are they going to be at work? Are they going to be on the computer? Are they going to be on their phone? What are they going to be doing, and where are they going to be at? And what's the best time and the best media, the best way to get your message in front of them? So here's a little diagram that I put together how it works. Ask yourself, where are these people at? Just quick jot it down on a piece of paper. What are your clients doing when they need your product or service? And then what is the best media or the best advertisement for getting your message about your product or service or your idea in front of these people? Is it going to be direct mail? Is it going to be the internet, TV, smartphones, radio, in person, which not a lot of people do anymore, but it's still very effective? The telephone, text message, When we talk about hub referrals, that's, there are some businesses that are completely run off of referrals. So what is the best way to get that message in front of them? And that's the one that you want to focus on first. There's almost no product or service out there that's for everybody. So when you are asked, who is this for, you've got to get that out of your head. Now, let's go over the delivery process. This is where the systems come in. Pull this down here real quick. And my screen is frozen. I apologize for that. Okay, the delivery process. This is important to you so you can deliver the same quality of product or service to your customers every single time and as consistently as possible so that you can maintain good relationships with your customers, so that you can have repeat business and referrals for them, so that you can manage expectations so that your customers know what they're getting in exchange for their money. And when you have these systems, you can hire others to deliver this product or service or idea if need be, and deliver it with the exact same quality that you would. And this is kind of a little principle that I like to go by when thinking about all these things. That success is a continual process of learning where you're never getting all of it, or you never got all of it, but you're always getting it. You see, you can never know it all. But when you use these processes, you can get as far as you can see, and then you'll see a little bit further. And that's what Doug and I wanted to talk to you about today is this. Doug talked to you several times about our team and what we're doing. And the team that we're putting together, I feel like the A-team, the team that we're putting together, we're calling the Super 7 Think Tank. Now, this is a pretty awesome idea. And the reason that Doug and I put this together is we wanted to be able to have anybody be able to implement these ideas and how to bring them to market. So this program is specifically designed to help you think like an entrepreneur, come up with more money-making ideas, learn specific technical skills to bring these ideas to the market, take action for success. And so if you want to train your brain to help you make more money, if you want to learn how to bring your ideas to life, if you want to feel confident and supported by a community, and if you want to make this idea that you have or that you're coming up with happen, then this program is specifically for you. Now, here's how it works. This is a 3-training program. It's a training program that you get every month. So the first training is with Doug. That's the brain training. The second training is with myself. That's more of the technical. We've kind of done big picture in all this tonight. But that training will be a little more slowed down and a little more focused so that you know exactly what to do next to bring this idea of yours to life. And then the third is a video for your record. So after all those, you'll have record of everything that we've done, but you'll also have a video that kind of simplifies the process, makes it more fluid so that you can go back and look on that later on. That first brain training, teaches you how to think of money-making ideas so that you can add multiple streams of income, how to recognize what people want so you can come up with ideas that people will pay you for, and where to look for ideas so that you can find opportunity more easily. The second one with myself is how to find your market so that you can make the most of your idea and reach the right people. We're going to talk about in those topics things like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google, all these different cool tools, that you can use online and offline that are cheap, if not free. Also, how to build your own website very quickly once you have that idea, so that you can have that real legitimate web presence right away. We can actually, one of the processes that we teach can actually have that up in just a matter of a few hours, and that's done yourself. Also, how you can build processes so that you can focus on getting the most out of this idea. And there's a ton of other cool stuff. I think when Doug and I talked about it and we combined all of our processes, we had come up that we had over 100 of these different ideas. Now, the video training, that's one that you can always have. You can always go back on and review it whenever you want. And you can also get this training when it's convenient for you so that you don't miss out. So if you're busy and you missed one of the trainings, well, you don't have to worry because you also have the video training. So what you're getting is you're getting the exact systems that Doug and I personally use to build multiple streams of income, and sometimes it's off of an idea that we literally write on a napkin. Sometimes I just do that because it's cool and it's a great way to start. So you're probably wondering about the price. Now, I know that myself and Doug have both spent tons of money learning all these different things that we're going to be sharing in this program, and I actually know that when Doug and I met at a private training, we both paid $1,200 to be in that room, and I think I did it for several months, so that was quite a bit of money. And that's why Doug and I decided to create this Super 7 think tank for you guys. And before we did this, I actually was charging about $600 per hour to share this with my private consulting clients. And when we've compared some of the information that we have in this, there are other gurus out there who are teaching some things about business, some things about how to use your brain to make money-making ideas, but it's not as complete. They don't have them together. So they're charging a minimum of $100 per month, and it's not even the two combined. But this is way more affordable. See, this program is, if you decide to do it monthly, is just $7 a month. And if you decide to pay for everything annually up front, well, that's 30% off if you just pay for the entire year. So that's $58.80 for an entire year subscription of this program. But it actually gets better than that. So the first 10 people that decide that they're going to join this and they're going to take action are going to get 40% off the annual subscription price. So that the total for the entire year of this program is only $50.40. So you can do that. You can get this program and join, be one of the first, by going to inkidealab.com/super7special. So here's what to do next. First, go to inkidealab.com/super7special. You choose how you want to pay, whether you want to do it for the month and try it out, or if you want to do it annually. Then within the next hour, you're going to be sent the first welcome email. Now that has all the details of what to expect and the overview of a little more detail on each of the training programs, plus some of the bonuses that we're going to tell you about here in just a minute. Then you're going to attend your first training, which is going to be towards the end of this month. It's the one that I teach about more of the technical details about how to start launching your idea. So if you want to get more money-making ideas, if you want to feel more confident, if you want to have the knowledge of the how to carry out these ideas, and you want to be part of a community of like-minded people, all in just 3 simple trainings each month, then just go to that link. It's inkidealab.com/super7special. I mean, it doesn't get too much easier. Obviously, price is not an object. It's very affordable, even if you're just starting out. But it still gets better. We're giving you a full satisfaction 30-day money-back guarantee. So this is the whole deal on this. If you get through a month of this training and you decide, you know what, it's not for me, this is not what I'm looking for, you can cancel within that first 30 days and get your full refund. All you have to do is send an email saying that you want to cancel. The email address, if you even want to write it down now, is support@inkidealab.com. All you have to do is say, I want to cancel. And with the click of a button, we're going to give you your refund. Now, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days for processing on the banking end, but it's a pretty simple process. But it gets even better, because when you order tonight, you get an extra bonus from Doug. It's the 9-step Brain Booster Blueprint. It's something that he wanted to add on for you guys. It's an additional brain training resource so that as soon as you get started, you don't have to wait for that call. You can hit the ground running right away. It still gets even better. We kept adding things to it. Doug also wanted to add the video training for the Brain Booster Blueprint system so that if you're not much of a reader, you can watch the video on how to do it. And that is sent with that welcome email. So you can actually, if you're a night owl, you can get started on that tonight if you want to. Excuse me. Okay. So let's recap what you're getting here. You get to join the Super 7 Think Tank, which is an awesome program. It's an amazing value. If it's not too late, if we haven't had the 10 sign up, I'm not looking at it, you still get the 40% off discount for the annual subscription. You get 3 amazing trainings per month for only $7, or if you decide to do it for the year, it's $50.40. It's super cheap. You get the 9-step Brain Booster system. You get the 9-step Brain Booster video blueprint. You get the 30-day money-back guarantee, so really there's no risk when you invest this in your business. If you decide that this isn't for you, then we just click that button and give you the refund. But after tonight, as Doug mentioned earlier, after 12 p.m., we are not going to ever offer the 40% off. Again, this is one time. This is for you guys tonight. There's actually not going to be some recorded webinar presentation again. This is a one-time thing. So just think about it. You're sitting here at your computer. You're listening to Doug and I tell you about all these cool brain tactics that you can use. You know that taking action on a training program at this low price could be exactly what you need to get to the next level. So go ahead, take advantage of this incredible discount. There's the link again. It's been on the bottom of the pages. Take advantage of the amazing bonuses, the can't lose guarantee now. There's the link. It's up for you guys. Now, I think Doug and I, if I'm not mistaken, I think now is a time that we can answer any questions that you guys have. Doug, was that what you were also had in mind?
Yeah, I would just add a couple things, Mitch. A tremendous presentation. Even I understood it. And I'm a computer caveman. When you see something for $7 a month, don't underestimate its worth. Those of you on this webinar that know me know that I refuse to charge large amounts because I want to help as many people as we possibly can. I'm on a mission as a legacy to the loss of my mother to help as many people improve their brain as possible. So please don't make a foolish mistake and undervalue what Mitch and I are going to have for you. It's phenomenal stuff, and pardon the pun, but it's a no-brainer. For $7 or $50 for a year, it's an absolute no-brainer. And I guess what? They typed their questions into the chat box there, and we'll try to answer them for them.
Yeah, and I was actually are you seeing the questions? Because I'm not. I'm not able to see them, so you're going to have to answer questions.
Okay.
And one of the other things, too, is that when you and I had discussed this, Doug, and putting together this presentation, we had thrown out several prices for this, and the reason, we started it, we said, okay, we want everybody to be able to afford this who does want to turn their money-making ideas into something and who wants to take action, and that's why it was such a good fit using the brain training research along with the technical that we both combine together. And one of the funny things is, didn't we start it at $100 for this program?
$97.
And then we kept talking to each other about how many people we wanted to get in the program, and then we kept bringing it down. And I think you were the one that said, you know what, everybody can afford it at $7. Just make it $7.
Yep. I love sevens. Everybody says put a 7 in the number and it looks better. I have no idea why. Maybe that's brain science. I don't know. Yeah, there's let's see. There's a chat box, and so far no questions. So we'll stay on here for about 10 minutes and see if any questions come in.
Okay. Doug, can you think of any questions that some people may want to ask about the program? Or I know we've gone over a few of those before as we were preparing this.
Well, there's one question here from Glenn Allen. He says, most of my, and this is a great question, Mitch, and I think you answered it. He may have typed this in before you got through your presentation, but he says, most of my ideas are for my liking. How do I come up with an idea that suits the consumer? Well, that's actually both of us can answer that. From my point of view, we show you as we go through this program in the think tank, we show you how to recognize what people want or need via certain avenues like your passion or the newspaper. And then Mitch will show you how to determine whether that's a good idea that will market to people other than yourself. So that really, it will be a pretty easy step to do.
Yeah, and actually, to go along with that, Doug, made me think of one of the ideas that I've had, thanks to a lot of the training that I've learned from you, about personal ideas is a few years ago, I actually found out that I had a gluten allergy, which is pretty common, but I like to cook, and that severely limited me. And one of the things that I started doing was looking at, blogs and, forums and getting recipes and doing all these things so that I could continue cooking gluten-free. Well, then I started realizing that, when we went out to eat with friends, the first question on my mind was, are there any gluten-free restaurants close? Where can we go where I can actually eat? Without sitting there and just saying, hey, I'll have water. And one of the things that I put together was I started putting together a tool for myself where I found all the restaurants in major cities that had gluten-free menus. I don't want to go into the details of how I did that, but I put them up on a website called gfgrubfinder.com, and I just used that as my own tool. I had it as an app on my phone, and I am a little more of the tech-savvy type, which is what I want to teach a lot of the people who decide to join our team here. But I put that up on my phone, and I started using that just as a tool for myself. Well, next thing I know, I'm starting to get a lot more traffic just from people who, locally have come to the site through organic searches.
Mm-hmm.
Other people were wanting to use it. I wouldn't have thought of that. But now as we've had this for about a year, we're starting to build a pretty big audience to where just a couple months ago I was in an office meeting, and one of the girls in the meeting said, hey, I don't know if this food is gluten free, but I have celiac disease. And I asked her if she'd ever used the site. She said, oh yeah, I'd heard of it. She goes, I've used it a couple times. So it was pretty cool to see an idea like that it was something just for me personally, come to life and be of use to other people. And now, as we're getting more and more traffic to that, we can start monetizing that website as well.
All right, great stuff. I've got two questions here. One I think is a simple answer. It says, is your InkIdeaLab.com site activated? Can't get it going. Well, your question misspells the website. I don't know if that's a problem, but it's INC Idea, IDEA, lab, LAB.com / Super 7 Special. That should solve it. I just went on my other computer and got on it real easy, the order form. Somebody else asks, this is Michael, I have idea sketches and don't know what to do next. Also have 2 copyrighted grandkids books written but don't know what to do with them. Help. That's exactly what the think tank is for. For $7 a month, you'll get all that information of where to go and what to do. We obviously don't have enough time to do that on one introductory webinar, but we certainly have those answers. Both of us do. And we'll be happy to help you with that. Get into the think tank, and we'll get that going for you. You're going to make a lot more than $7 a month if you got a couple good grandkid books.
Absolutely.
One other thing, Mitch, I will mention that we haven't is if your idea is for a physical product, for example, one of the questions, my background was law, so one of the things we'll be able to answer for you is, do you need a patent? Do you need a provisional patent? Do you just need to get to market first? Do you want to manufacture? All those questions we can help answer for you.
Absolutely. And actually, too, that reminded me of something that might be of benefit and may answer another question. I know that, Doug is more of the big picture guy, and he knows, all that stuff, especially about the law. And one of the ways that we've set this up is as we get more and more people, we want to see, what are people's needs. So I actually have it set up right now to where we're going to be sending out an email every month to all the members of this program that's a survey saying, hey, what are your needs? And we're going to cover whatever gets the most, interest, saying, hey, this is what I really need to focus on. And that's what, especially for the technical part, that's what I'm going to start putting together my presentation based on is what, people need and the majority need in this program. Fortunately, there's a lot of things that are principles that will help you to, adjust and adapt a lot of what we're teaching on these programs.
All right, I got one more question. How will we know if we're one of the first 10? Well, if you go to the order page, let's say for the annual, which for 12 months at $7 would be $84. If you're one of the first 10, that'll be crossed out, and it'll have underneath it $50.40. So you'll be fine. Don't worry about that. Technology, that takes care of all that stuff. Let's see here. Brad hi Brad. I know Brad and Choney. They just registered for the year. Fantastic. They're from Southwest Florida. It's probably cold down there tonight too. Excellent. I think that might be the end of the questions.
Okay.
Well, let's wrap this thing up. Now, if you haven't made a decision, I have something to say about that. What the crap are you doing? $7 a month. $7 a month. Don't tell me you don't waste that much in 3 days.
I think I spent that much at Starbucks this morning, Doug.
I understand. I'm trying to get off of caffeine, or I'd have done the same thing. But my goodness, you guys, take advantage of this. We cannot promise it's going to stay that low. If we start doing a lot more to help people, which we really, really want to do, write down inkidealab.com/super7special, all lowercase, and go to the order form and use Doug Bench's 2-step method for tremendous success. Step 1, close your eyes. Step 2, freaking jump. Because if you're wrong, $7. My goodness. Jump in, you guys. We'll help you all we can. Mitch is my favorite geek. And I don't think you don't drive a Volkswagen, do you, Mitch?
No, I used to. I sold it.
Good.
Trying to get rid of the stereotype.
There you go. But he knows what he's doing. You heard that tonight. I'm impressed. I got some ideas tonight, and we'll help you all we can. Bankroll your brain power and take it to market for $7 a month. We sure appreciate everybody being here with us. Mitch, you got anything to add? If not, we'll say good evening to everybody.
I don't think so. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody get into this program.
All right. We'll help everybody we can. Thanks for being with us tonight. If you want to send us comments or questions, should we give them the emails, Mitch?
Yeah, go ahead, and if anybody wants to send them, especially for this particular program, the Super 7, just make sure that they send them to support@inkidealab.com.
Perfect.
And also, that's where they can use that guarantee as well.
Support@inkidealab.com. Inc is INC, like corporation. Idealab.com. All right, everybody, we appreciate you being here. We have recorded this. We'll let you know if a recording is going to be sent out. We'll send you all an email if the recording's okay. And we'll see you next time here in the Super 7 Think Tank. Good night, everybody.
Good night.